involved in any discussion.
He was. He was involved.
I got hired. Nick, you gotta help me out here. I think I got hired January of '06. Where were you January of '06?
Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah,
When did you go? When did you go to Europe?
that's right.
February.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe it wasn't you, but Mickey said Sean would like for you. So there you go.
You did well there. You did really well.
I remember this. I remember, Lance was someone that was exceptionally athletic in the weight room, and you heard these stories that he's like, man, 7 black belts and all these things, but you saw this flexibility and athleticism when he played, and so he didn't play 5'9" and 7/8. You just saw. I never felt size deficient, and I mean that when that Super Bowl year, and I'm going to brag on both these guys a second. We had a tough decision towards the end of the year. Lance was dealing with a hamstring, and so you're constantly battling, man, if you put him on IR and we go into the playoffs, what if he's healthy by the divisional round, or what if he's healthy by the championship round? And man, Mickey and I had like 2 or 3 different times just once again looking at the roster because maybe there was a linebacker you needed, and fortunately, we kind of sat tight and he was able to get healthy and then obviously play a huge role in the outcome of not just that game, but in the postseason. And, I talk about Pierre's kickoff return. Very shortly after, it's 4th and a half a yard, and there's a handoff, and it's to a goal line front where Chad Greenway and Pierre Thomas kind of meet. And I mean, it epitomizes just a half a yard. It's only the NFC Championship game. It's only for the Super Bowl, and he just gained 40 to get us in position where, the margin for our success greatly went up. You get the ball on the 40-yard line to start. So,
yeah, I had to tell you I was going to get that.
Listen, that was so. There's countless plays like that, and they sometimes can run together, but those I don't think will ever.
Sean, I think locally, Pierre has this reputation as one of the best screen pass running backs in Game's history. But obviously that's a Saints only, Saints fan, Saints reporters view. You guys coach Marshall Faulk and Pete, was he one of the better screen pass running backs ever?
Well, you're effective as a screen back if you've shown you can be a blocking back. So it's hard to be a receiving screen back if you're rarely in protection. So Pierre, when we saw the heavy blitz look teams, and there's countless hours spent on a 3rd down blitz protection, he had it, and the only thing he needed, if it was a loud environment, he just needed to hear where the mic was going. And so that lends itself to a chance to become someone who's got a real good feel for, but he had tremendous instincts. And so, his approach wouldn't be the same each time either. He might vary it, but I think that goes to just the football IQ, the savviness, again, the feel for the game. But absolutely, phenomenal. And look, the hard part is he's gone, and since then it's like, why hadn't our screen game go? But I think there were so many elements that he could do that if all of a sudden maybe one of the other runners was down, and we played Atlanta, I remember just going in thinking, Pierre, you're gonna get a lot of carries, like more than you think you're gonna get, and he was ready to handle that, and both very durable, and extremely durable, and extremely talented, both of them.
Coach, how hard was the call back in '07, Pittman, to keep Pierre Thomas?
I'll be honest, with respect to any other player that's not sitting here, I know there wasn't a meeting, so it wasn't a difficult call. I'd remember a long debate, it was, the number one thing you have to know is the locker room's counting on you to get that right, and and so you can look at it two ways. You could say, man, we missed on round 4, and you hope you don't, but then you can look at it another way and say, but look what we got and we didn't draft, you know, and so I think the mistake sometimes in our league is doubling down on one mistake, feeling like you're going to try to prove everyone wrong, instead of looking at it like, man, forget the jersey number, forget when they were acquired. This is who, and the locker room's counting on that, and I think that's important.
Do you ever, sorry, this is a long question, do you ever think back to when you got here, and if you look back historically at it, you had a quarterback who couldn't throw, you had undrafted players. If they made a movie about this, people probably wouldn't believe it. They'd say that that's over-romanticized. Do you think about those
Well, they
special-
did make a movie on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I think there were a lot of toys on this island. One had like a red nose, they were like misfit toys, and so we would just be repeating it.
The fact of you did something truly unique your own way and had tremendous success doing it. Do you ever have an opportunity to think back and look at that and say that it's truly something that maybe no one else has done in this league?
Look, I think there were a number of things that, most importantly, it was the finding the right people to play, finding the right people to coach, to scout. There's so many things that go into success. And look, I remember the interview with Mickey and waiting on this. I've said this before, waiting on this text from Ted Thompson. Like, you know, I'm from Chicago. I was thinking I was going to Green Bay, and then being at the hotel downtown and getting that information, throwing the phone at my pillow, going downstairs to eat with Mickey and Cortez Kennedy, and then all of a sudden, hey, this is going to happen. And then, you know, Gary Gibbs and I coming on a plane, and I think Scott Fujita might want to visit, you know, and we were kind of one by one putting together, you know, we were a little bit of a comeback in 06, so there was, the concern in 06 wasn't focused necessarily just around the Saints, it was around the community and the schools and the hospitals, and there were so many other things that were above the list of, you know, the football team. And I think that's what made the 06 season unique, in the success of that 06 team unique. And then, you know, you began to build, and you know, when Drew arrived, you know, trying to have a perfect visit, the first question was always, all right, are we going to disclose everything, or are we going to try to pretend it doesn't exist? You know, and it's like, you got to disclose it. All right, so, because there was a lot of empty buildings, there were a lot of homes, there were still, a ton of tarps on roofs, and the airport, I can remember, I don't know that I saw 6 people in the airport when I arrived. You just felt like, where's everyone? And trying to so one by one, you know, how we all arrive is fate to some degree, depending on how you think. And to credit Mickey and his vision, because look, we weren't here for, at least most of us. I know Lance was part of San Antonio and you know, the actual hurricane. You know, I was in Dallas, Drew was in San Diego, Pierre was at Illinois, and so we came on the aftermath of it. And I think the thing, and I'm not speaking for everyone that was a part of that, but the journey is what you remember. Like these stories of the training camp these guys went through. They'd still be playing if we didn't go to Millsaps. I mean, just
years old.
Just some of the things that took place you couldn't plan on, and it was fascinating. It's even more, I think, from afar to watch, almost like a parent, the relationships that have been formed amongst players that are currently playing even, and players that have been here, and you can't put your hand on one specific moment or acquisition. But it certainly started with finding guys like these guys here, and to Michael, it hadn't been always like roses either. Mike's gotten a lot of stares from me, like, "What are we doing? We're taking a picture right now." So, but those are the things that you remember and you laugh about later, and that's probably the neatest thing about this hall, that they're able to capture some of those stories and, because it's quick. I mean, the time doesn't seem like it's been 12, 13 years.
You guys